Over the years, Margaret has interviewed a range of property experts for her shows. This week, she brings you her interview with Julia Hartman, who is an expert in accounting and tax law.
Sticking with tax matters, my guest expert today is Julia Hartman. I wanted to find out from Julia the implications of transferring ownership of property between spouses. I know I often get a lot of people who say, I want to just transfer half of my property to my spouse. There's a couple of states that say you can transfer by way of love and harmony. Tell me a little bit more about that.
That'll get you out of the stamp duty, but remember you're making a declaration that you're gifting it to your spouse. Well, you can't borrow to buy a gift. And if you are gifting it, the original loan is also no longer in connection with earning income. So for interest on a loan to be tax deductible, it must be borrowed to buy an income producing asset. So this receiving spouse is receiving it as a gift, therefore they haven't borrowed to buy it, so they've got no interest to claim against their half of it. And the spouse that's gifting the property has a loan for the whole property and might now only own half of it. Well, then they can only claim half the interest on the loan because the other half was used to buy something they gave away as a gift.
Can you get around all of that though by selling your half of the property to your spouse?
There'd be no concession on stamp duty because it's a sale of half or the whole of the property. And it would also trigger capital gains tax, which it would even with a gift anyway. But you've got to again think about the loan, because you've got, if you're the transferring spouse, you've borrowed this money for the original purchase. So the interest on that loan is only deductible if it's a cost of earning income from what was originally purchased. If you transfer all of it or half of it to your spouse, then your spouse is earning income on that property, and they've got to get a deduction for their own loan. But unless you pay off your loan here, you're not going to get a deduction for either half or all of it, depending on how much you transfer, because the original money was used to buy a property that you have now sold. So you're going to be up for capital gains tax as if the transaction happened at market value. So between that and the stamp duty costs, I don't know whether it would ever be worth doing it.
I knew that if you sold a property to, say, a family member, whether it's a whole property or half a property, and you sold it to them below market value because it's a gift, then technically you might be asked to pay stamp duty on the market value, not what you sold it for. So if I was going to sell you a property at the moment, Julie, because I like you so much, a $500,000 property, and I sold it to you for $300,000 because you're my mate, you would still have to pay stamp duty on $500,000. But what I didn't realise is that if I sold that property to you at $300,000, I still have to pay capital gains tax as if I sold it to you for $500,000.
But that's all right, because my cost base that gets the $500,000 too. So that's fine, Margaret. What property did you have in mind?
Yeah, it's good for you, but it's not very good for me to do it that way. And I think people don't realise that in giving those discounts to friends or to family members, then it might not just be the family member who is disadvantaged by having to pay bigger stamp duty, but it's also you. If you are up for capital gains tax, it could be on the whole assessed amount, not just on what you actually receive.
But if you're buying a property and you think, well, one day that would be good for the kids and I'm going to transfer it to them in a few years' time, then you enter into an agreement now to transfer it to them at market value now, which if you've recently bought the property means no real capital gain to you. And settlement date's 5 years in the future. Well, as you know, with capital gains tax, the event takes place when you sign the agreement to sell, so that's market value then. It's just got to be a binding agreement. It can't be just some whimsical family arrangement.
So what you're saying now is I strike a contract with you today for the $300,000, which is the value today, and say in 5 years' time we'll settle this. And if the market value is $500,000 and I'm selling it to you for $300,000 because that's what my contract says, that's what my stamp duty's on, that's what my capital gains tax is on.
I'm not sure about your stamp duty. I think it would vary with different states. But for capital gains tax, that was the market value when you entered into the agreement.
I know you'd love to buy an investment property, but finding the time to do it the right way is almost impossible. That's why we created Property Match. Born from 25 years of Australia-wide investing experience, Property Match uses multiple data points and machine learning to match you with the property most suited to your circumstances. Get back to what you want to do with your spare time and let your next investment property find you. Head to mypropertymatch.com.au to find out more.